As we were racing to meet the deadline to get to Sundance, actually, is when we started to hear the first rumblings of problems over at ITVS. It was about a week after Alex Gibney's film aired, and we got a series of frantic phone calls, actually, after we decided to change to come up with the title Citizen Koch. We had a working title, Citizen Corp, for our film, but we needed a title to go to Sundance, so we came up with Citizen Koch. They had been fine with that a week earlier, but then we got a frantic series of text messages and phone calls. And they desperately wanted to see, the film that we were going to take to Sundance, and we were happy to give it to them. So I guess a couple of days after that, we got on the phone with the head of production over there, and they said, if you guys don't change the name of your film, then we're going to have to take funding away from you. We can't have a relationship with this film under that name. And, we were sort of stunned. We were open to other names, quite frankly, but we were really curious about what was behind that. And look, it took one Google search to figure out that David Koch was a board member of WNET and GBH also, and also a contributor. So we asked very directly, did this have anything to do with the demands they were making? And, they were not very transparent, but it became clear that in fact there was a climate at PBS that would find the name of this film, Citizen Koch, unacceptable. And we told them, look, we're happy to change the name, but not for political reasons. We're not going to change the name of our film because one of your donors is going to be angered by it. So we took a principled stand. We thought that everything would fall apart then and there. We went to Sundance, and they told us before Sundance, no, we're still committed to your film. We're on board with you. We want to see you through this, and we're still in partnership. So that's where the story left off.
And of course, the Jane Mayer article that in the New Yorker has pointed out the key role played by Neil Shapiro in beginning to exert pressure on ITVS. Of course, Neil Shapiro had a long career as a network executive at NBC before he came over to run the duopoly, the PBS duopoly in New York. Did you at that time get any indication that Neil Shapiro was directly intervening?
Look, they weren't being completely honest with us. It was clear that they were afraid of something and somebody. What we now know from Jane Mayer's article is that Neil Shapiro called ITVS directly and issued some threats, including that NET would pull out of their series Independent Lens in the aftermath of that Gibney film. And so I guess they saw our film coming down the pike and freaked out. And it wasn't just that they wanted us to change the title of the film. It became clear that they wanted us to to sanitize the film, to scrub Koch out of the film altogether.
Carl, can you explain the relationship between ITVS, explain what ITVS is and what PBS is? Because you weren't automatically going on WNET or PBS, but it was your funding and your distribution?
Yeah. The Independent Television Service exists to financially support the work of independent filmmakers, and then to advocate for those films that it supports to go on the air on a number of different ways, including their flagship series, which is really the premier showcase for high-quality documentary films, Independent Lens. So they're publicly funded. As far as the way we understand it is their entire budget comes from tax dollars, so they're good people who have a very, very important mission. And we were really hopeful when all this was going down that they would join with us. We're willing to fight for this film, and we want people to advocate for it alongside us. This isn't a film. This isn't an expose of the Koch brothers. This is a look at how big money and the money of ideologically driven money from the wealthiest Americans is drowning out the rest of us.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the ITVS response. Sure. We invited someone from ITVS to appear, but they declined. But they did issue a statement. They said, quote, ITVS has initially recommended the film Citizen Corp for a production licensing based on a written proposal. Early cuts of the film, including the Sundance version, did not reflect the proposal, however, and ITVS eventually withdrew its offer of a production agreement to acquire public television exhibition rights. The film was neither contracted nor funded by ITVS. Your response?
Stunning. stunning. We're really disappointed that we have an opportunity right now for ITVS to engage in a really important conversation about who has influence over what goes on the public airwaves. PBS was set up, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, to serve the public interest, not private interests. And so we're really disappointed with that statement, because when ITVS came in and decided to become a production partner with us, we were a year into production. We had our characters cast, we had our storylines, we presented them with written proposals, with video proposals that completely reflect the film that we delivered. The only thing that changed from the time that they saw a rough cut of the film and the time we got into Sundance and these series of strange meetings started to happen was Alex Gibney's film aired.
Well, we asked both ITVS and PBS to join us. Let me read the response, the statement from the New York PBS station, WNET, that aired the Alex Gibney documentary, Park Avenue, Money, Power, and the American Dream last November, but drew criticism for giving David Koch advance notice and running his response immediately after the film, along with a roundtable discussion. They did decline our invitation to come on the program, but wrote, quote, "We have previously used roundtable discussion segments to expand on programming covering controversial topics, and we invited Mr. Koch and Senator Schumer, the two main characters in the film, to participate." The statement also said, quote, "With regard to the film Citizen Koch, no one at WNET knew anything about this film and never had any discussions about it with ITVS or any other entity." Your response to that, T. Lessin?
I have no doubt that NET, saw it. I didn't see it. I mean, I don't think Koch saw it. That's how insidious this is. David Koch doesn't need to pick up the phone and yell at anybody. He just has to tap his wallet, and our film disappears.
In fact, he did quit the board. He resigned from WNET just a week or two ago.
That's right.
And was a major donor. What has overall given something like $23 million.
That's right, tax-deductible dollars, and in exchange for that, apparently he has some role in programming decisions over at NET, and I think that's really unacceptable.
So in essence, what we're looking at here is not necessarily a direct intervention by Koch, but self-censorship by the public television community in an effort to prevent someone like Koch from pulling their dollars out.
That's right. That's right. Well, and actually, I think, why does somebody like David Koch make such a major contribution to public broadcasting when, in fact, he's against public institutions like public broadcasting? I think it probably has to do with having some influence over what gets said on the public airwaves.